Hey guys, what's up? Welcome or welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zoe and I'm so happy that you clicked on today's video. So a couple weeks back I did a fall recommendation video and I tried to include a lot of maybe lesser known books in there, but I did not include any spooky season books because I wanted to have an entire video dedicated to those books because I feel like I just have so many to recommend to you guys. So that's what we're doing today, as you could probably tell by the title, because I feel like it is time. Spooky season is just about upon us. It's the end of September and I want to get this video out to you guys now so that you can pick your spooky season books now and not literally in the middle of October when it's almost over already. So I have like 15-ish, I think, recommendations for you guys today. We're just gonna go through them. We have horror, we have just some cute Halloween romance, we have a classic and some mystery thrillers, and I just feel like all of these are really great options for spooky season, for October specifically, or really anytime during the fall, but especially during this upcoming month. So without further ado, let's just get into all of these recommendations. So I'm just gonna get the cute romance out of the way because I feel like why not? And this one's probably a pretty obvious one, but we have The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. I've actually only read The Ex-Hex. I read it last year on Halloween. If we're being honest here, my first video that I posted a year ago on this channel when I finally started actually doing booktube was a reading vlog of this. It's pretty terrible, but it does hold a special spot in my heart because it was the first thing that got me back into booktube. So anyway, both of these are perfect. They are cute little romances that take place right around Halloween. They are about witches, which, like, I feel like witch books are just perfect for Halloween. So I'm gonna be reading The Kiss Curse this year, and I know that there's a third one coming out next year, so perfect time to get caught up on them, read them this Halloween, and have the best time. Now for some people who are looking for some more classic reading, first we have a very obvious one. We have Agatha Christie. I feel like you really can't go wrong with any of her books during spooky season. They are all whodunit murder mystery type books, and I think they're just a lot of fun. I've actually only read one, but I do have a few, and this is one of them that I'm hoping to read this season. But I'm just recommending her as an author as a whole because all of her books, as I said, are just the right vibe for spooky season. They're like the right vibe when it's like cold and stormy outside. You curl up with a blanket with, you know, a warm drink and just devour the book because they are pretty good to read in like 1 or 2 sittings. So that's a good recommendation I have, really any of them. And I do know that she has one that specifically is about a Halloween party, which could be a lot of fun if you're interested in that. So check it out if you're interested. And then we have a classic. This has to be my favorite classic of all time. We have The Count of Monte Cristo. This is just such a crazy story. I read it in high school and it has stuck with me ever since. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that much about it because it is a lot. It's a very, very thick book. It's like a brick, and I don't want to spoil too much, but there is a man who is wrongly imprisoned for a crime that he did not commit, and he spends the rest of the book trying to basically get revenge, and there's some romance in there, and it is just a wild ride. I could not recommend it enough, and I just feel like it has those perfect vibes for spooky season. So if you're looking for a good classic and you haven't read this one yet, I highly recommend doing that. Moving on to some YA recommendations. The first one that I have is a popular author, but I would say a less popular book. We have Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. This is the author of One of Us is Lying, and I think this is so perfect for Halloween because it takes place during fall, during a Halloween themed carnival that's going on in this town. And obviously it is like a murder mystery type thing, mystery thriller, and it is just such a fun time. It's a super quick read. If you liked One of Us is Lying, you will definitely like this one. And I would say that this one is a bit less predictable than One of Us is Lying. So if you didn't like how predictable that book was, this one is worth checking out and giving this author a second chance because it is so fun and it has just the most perfect autumn feeling, that autumn vibe, and I loved it so much. Next we have Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. This is a graphic novel, which is perfect because it's a super quick read. This is about two best friends who have worked at the same pumpkin patch every autumn throughout their time in high school, and they're now seniors. It's their last year and they want to have an adventure, one last crazy night before they're done working at this pumpkin patch, and it is just such a cute story. There's some romance, there's some hijinks. It's just like so much fun. I thought this was such a cute graphic novel, and I'm not even a big graphic novel person. I just thought that this one was such a fun time. I cannot recommend it enough. And again, it's one of those things you can just sit down and knock it out in like 30-45 minutes. So like you could read it on Halloween and just have the cutest little time. I just think it's super cute, so I highly recommend that one. Also, the art in it is beautiful. I just love it. I love it. And the last book for YA, we have The Agathas. This one is another like mystery thriller whodunit type of thing, very much in the style of Agatha Christie. It's about this girl who's a high schooler. She went missing for 5 days and won't tell anyone where she went. And she's like the talk of the town until one of the girls at her high school goes missing. And then she kind of wants to try to get to the bottom of it, figure out what happened to this girl. And you just follow her and this girl that she goes to school with, basically becoming detectives and trying to figure out what happened, who did the crime, and it is just a really fun time. Again, it's perfect for Halloween, mainly because the girl who goes missing in this one goes missing at a Halloween party. So again, just the perfect vibes. I feel like anything set around Halloween is obviously perfect for spooky season. And if you like it, there is a second one that recently came out. I can't remember what it's called, but it did recently come out, so you could read that one as well if you like it. It's just like a good mystery thriller for spooky season, especially if you're into that YA genre. Then to continue with mystery thrillers, but in the adult or general fiction genre, we are going to start with a very popular one. We have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, I don't know. This one is very, very popular with good reason. This one is so crazy. I'm not going to tell you anything because I feel like this one is truly a great one to go into blind if you haven't had everything spoiled for you already, but it is so wild. I literally could not put this one down. It is such a page turner. I've had multiple people who never read tell me that they were obsessed with this book, and I just cannot recommend it enough. It is so crazy. You will be questioning everything until the last page, which I feel like is just the sign of an amazing thriller. So if you have not read this one yet, you definitely should. I feel like a lot of people have, but I had to include some popular ones in there, and this one is definitely worth the hype. Then we have another fairly popular one. We have In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This one is kind of dark academia. It's about these friends from college who were a super tight-knit group, and one of them ends up dying, and you follow them in the past and the present, kind of seeing their whole friendship in college, as well as now all of them reuniting for the first time years later at a college reunion, and you kind of try to get to the bottom of it, of who killed the person from their friend group, what exactly happened, what the issue was, and it is so crazy. One of my favorite thrillers ever. I love thrillers. I've read quite a few, and this one remains one of my favorites. I cannot recommend it enough. Definitely think you should go read it if you haven't. That's really all I can say about that one. I just absolutely adore it. It is so shocking, so good. There's some romance in it, and I ate that one up. And then this one kind of falls right in between mystery thriller and horror, but we have The Whisper Man by Alex North. I am a big fan of Alex North. I've talked about him in several of my videos. I've talked about The Whisper Man and The Shadows because they're both such good books. They have some crime in them, but they also have some horror elements and some mystery elements. They are just so good, but The Whisper Man is definitely my top recommendation. It's about this family who moves into this house, and there is like this legend of the Whisper Man who comes and like takes kids in their sleep, and we follow this man and his son, and the son starts hearing things. It's just so much craziness. This book is absolutely a wild ride, and I got really scared when I read it. If you want like a good creepy one, read this one at night. You will get so creeped out because it is about like people coming in the middle of the night, but it's such a good one. Highly recommend. And I'm not going to give you more than that because, again, don't want to spoil these things, but I love that book, or really anything by Alex North. And then we're kind of, as I said, transitioning into horror. The next one I would recommend is Hidden Pictures. This one is such a cool book because you have a super crazy, gripping story that literally pulls you in from the first page. It is so wild. It's about this girl who is living in this town and she's babysitting for this family. but the kid keeps drawing these pictures. It's like this whole creepy, like what's going on type of thing. But what I love about this one, definitely read the physical one of this, not the audiobook, because there are actual pictures throughout the book that the kid is supposedly drawing. And it is so cool to see the pictures. It makes it that much more eerie and spooky, and I think it is absolutely perfect for October. Could not recommend it enough for this month specifically. And again, read it at night, you'll be super creeped out. It's just so good. And then I just want to talk about Grady Hendrick as an author, but primarily the Southern Book Club's A Guide to Slaying Vampires and How to Sell a Haunted House. Both such good books. Also, My Best Friend's Exorcism, that one's super good, but these two specifically are so freaking good. They are horror, but they're like not super scary. There's like funny elements to them. They're definitely like, they have humor in them, and just a lot of different things, but both of these are so good. If you like vampires, read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. If you like haunted houses and maybe some like puppets, some dolls, read How to Sell a Haunted House. If you like all of it, read them both, because I genuinely cannot pick which one I like more. They're both just so good and so scary for spooky season. I loved these books. They both made Grady Hendrick one of my favorite authors. Like, they cemented it, and I will recommend these every year for spooky season. If you haven't read them yet, you should. And they also just have really cool covers, which I love. But please go read both of those and then come back and tell me everything you thought, because I'm always looking for more people who have read Grady Hendrick's books, and both of those are just masterpieces. They're amazing. So go read those for fall, definitely. And then we have The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. This one is kind of like your modern day retelling of Frankenstein, but it will not only be so good, so creepy, so eerie, but the twist at the end will absolutely shock you, absolutely blow your mind. I saw the twist coming at the end and I still was so shocked. Like, it is such a good read, especially if you like Frankenstein. If you like that story, it's definitely good. This one is such an amazing read for fall, for spooky season. Again, cannot recommend any of these enough. Like, they're all such good books. I'm so passionate about all of them. I love a good horror book. I love something that's just gonna make me scared and freaked out and also just confuse me a little bit, and all of these definitely do that, but especially this one, you will just be shocked. You will be jaw-dropped. And finally, I could not end this video without talking about the OG horror author. We have Stephen King, so I'm just gonna show you some of my top recommendations by him, because I love Stephen King. I'm definitely still working my way through his books. I've only read a little over 20, but I would say I still have some good recommendations based out of those. So first, we have one of my favorites. We have It. This one is obviously the perfect book for spooky season because it is the creepiest topic you can imagine. It's about clowns, or one clown, I guess I should say, and it's so good. This one does get a bit long and like drawn out at times. You might get a little bored. There is a scene at the end that we will not talk about because it never should have been written, but aside from that, it is such a fun book. I love reading about our group of kids in this one. Yes, it is based in the summertime, but it's still so good because it's so scary. You will be so freaked out. There is one specific scene in here that still creeps me out every time I am in a bathroom at night by myself. So definitely, if you want to be freaked out, read this one. It is long, but it is definitely worth it. And then we have a classic. We have The Shining. This one I actually want to reread because I haven't read it in so long. This was the first Stephen King book that I read, and it definitely opened my eyes to his books and made me a fan. All of these, I feel like if you've seen the movie, I would still recommend reading the book because the movies never hit the same. They never cover enough of the books because Stephen King is such a detailed author. But this one is so good. It's about a haunted hotel, if you didn't know, and it is so creepy. I would say it's less scary than a lot of his books, but just like the creepy factor is definitely up there. And then we have Misery. This one is so good, especially for the book girlies, because it is about an author who gets kidnapped by his #1 fan and basically held hostage until he can finish writing his next book. And it is so wild. It's so good. It takes place during the winter, so it's good for this time of year, and I cannot recommend this one enough either. And then if you want some that are slightly less scary and more just like creepy or weird, first we have The Institute by Stephen King. This remains one of my favorite books by him and one of my favorite books ever. I feel like I've seen very mixed reviews about this one, but it's so good to me. It's about these kids with these hidden abilities who get taken to the Institute to have some like tests run on them and basically kept as lab rats almost. And we follow this one boy, Luke, who... I'm not going to say more than that, actually. I'm not going to say more. I want it to be a surprise because this one is so good. But definitely recommend this one if you like Stephen King, or if you just like a kind of crazy one. This one reminds me more of like dystopian type things like Divergent, The Darkest Minds, that type of thing. But it is so much fun. Highly recommend. Please go read it. And then we have The Long Walk, which is actually more of a short story, so it will not be as time consuming as some of his books are because I know they can be super long. But this one is basically about 100 boys who get chosen to be in the long walk, which is like this thing where they keep walking until the last man is standing. Like, every single person will die except for the winner, and you cannot stop walking. It's just so crazy. Basically, you just follow them all walking the entire time, but learning about everybody's backstories and seeing the pain that they all go through to continue walking is so crazy and gripping, and it really moves the story along. So that one is super good. As I said, very short, so definitely works. And then we have one more. We have 11/22/63 by Stephen King. I recommend this one all the time, and I will continue to forever because it is in my top 10 books of all time. I love this book. This is about the assassination of JFK. It's like a time loop story where the person that we follow in this book goes back in time to try to stop the assassination, and it is so good because it not only has some magical realism with that time loop and some history in it, but it also has some really sweet romance, and it is just a really great story. Obviously it takes place in November, so it's good for any time in the fall, and I think it's just a beautiful story. It's not scary, it's not a horror book, and I just think you should read it if you haven't, because I will try to get everyone to read that book forever. It's so good. So I'm pretty sure I just said that all of those books were so good and that I love them a million times, but that's the truth. That's how I feel about all of them, and that is why I'm recommending them all to you guys. So hopefully you were able to find something in here that you haven't read before and that is interesting to you. I feel like I included some pretty good recommendations in here, some of my favorites, as I said, and I just love trying to get other people to read my favorite books. So that's what we're here for, and I hope you found one that you liked. So I hope you read all the best books this spooky season. If you have any good spooky season recommendations, I would obviously love to hear them. I'm always looking for more. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps me so much. And if you want to be friends, all of my socials will be linked down below as always. So that was the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have the best October ever, and I'll see you in the next one.